Welcome to the Neuropreneur Rising podcast. I'm your host, Polly Pollock, and I'm a marketing mentor, author, and neurospicy business owner, here to guide you in the journey of growing your business, getting seen, and getting clients on your terms. This is the place to be if you're an ADHD or neurodiverse entrepreneur and you're done with forcing yourself into marketing and business strategies that feel restrictive and awkward, and you're ready to embrace how your unique mind works so you can create the success that you deserve. On this podcast, we're going to be talking about ADHD and neuro-friendly marketing, dopamine-driven and sustainable business strategies, and how to get seen and paid your way without the burnout. And a little something to get you started before we dive in. If you're tired of staring at a blank screen when it comes to creating your content, wondering what the hell to post, go and grab the neuro-friendly content kit. It's free and it was built by me for brains like ours. It takes the overwhelm and the confusion and the frustration out of content creation and helps you really showcase your brand and convert your audience into customers. Go ahead and grab it in the show notes. All right, let's jump in. Welcome back to the Neuropreneur Rising podcast. So today we're going to be diving into content creation. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the lazy, if you like, content strategy that still grows your business, even when you are in a low energy phase. I feel like it's important to be real. When you run a business, you still have a life. And we are very much taught that business comes first and you have to show up even when life is giving you shit, even when, you're in a just as we all experience it, we all have times in our life where things kind of hit the fan. Maybe we get personal issues, health issues, family things. It all happens. And unfortunately, the reality of it is that when you're going through one of those times, or even just when you're in a low energy phase, especially as a neurodiverse entrepreneur, the business is going to take a little bit of a back foot. And you know what? Unpopular opinion, that's how it should be. I feel like the pressure has been, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever worked in corporate, but when you work in corporate and, the boss is like, yeah, we're all a big family here. And, it's kind of masked as like good stuff, but you're expected to work your ass off. You're expected to put your needs, at the bottom of your priority list, and the work is meant to be at your top. And, that's how I feel, things have been kind of talked about in the online space recently. Not really recently, just overall, the pressure of your business is your mission and you absolutely need to put it first all of the time. And, the reality of it is that your business doesn't have to rule your entire life. And I don't think it should. But, that being said, your business is probably one of the most, if not the most important thing in your life, bar your loved ones. And it's important to make sure that you have things set up to tick over even when you are in a difficult period of your life. Now, my approach, if you've listened to, the last podcast episodes, my approach is very much, when it comes to content creation and social media marketing, my approach is rooted in, if you have behind the scenes marketing down to a T, if you're getting visible in the right places, if you're getting seen in, real world opportunities, speaking, guest speaking, linking up and collaborating, all of that really good stuff, getting yourself seen in places where your ideal client is going to be hanging out, then social media is just the cherry on top. But in terms of social media and content creation on its own, let's go into how you can keep your business visible even when you don't have the energy to show up. So I think when we look at consistency and, creating content that's going to be, warming your audience up and converting them and selling through your content and even launching through your content, I think the vibe of constant effort, hustle, posting every day, posting 3 times a day, whatever it is, that kind of stuff comes to mind. But realistically, that doesn't work for neurospicy brains. And the reality of it is that showing up every day when you are ADHD or neurodiverse and forcing yourself to show up when you're in those low energy cycles is not going to work for you, because you will inevitably burn out. So it's really about creating systems where content works as a tool for you, even when you are not actively creating that content. So what I would recommend doing when you are in, just adding it to your high energy, I just start, for starters, I would make a high energy task list overall and a low energy task list. These are tasks that you have, the ability to do when you have some free time and you're in high energy and you want to, kind of do things that are moving the needle. And then you have your task list, which are maybe like low effort admin tasks that you can do when you're in low energy. You can work from your bed or, whatever you're doing. So first of all, making those. And as a high energy task, do a review of your content. Look at what drove the most engagement. So I'll talk about metrics for a sec, actually, before I get in that. So a lot of the time we focus on views and, oh my God, why did I only get so many amount of views on this post? It's so frustrating. I don't want you to focus on views. I want you to focus on engagement. So I want you to focus on what drove conversations. I want you to focus on what drove, likes are important to an extent. It doesn't mean that if something got no likes, it doesn't mean that people aren't watching and actually ready to buy. We have lurkers all the time on our social medias who will consume your content and they won't leave anything. I am a lurker. Like, I do it all the time. I don't say anything online. I don't comment. I don't like, I'm just not, that's not my vibe. I don't like to do it. It's just a personal thing. But if you're going to focus on any metric, look at engagement, look at likes more than you do views. But one thing I would really look at is saves and profile views. Now, liking is a quick tap of a button. Commenting is a little bit more focused on, well, someone's actually taken the time to comment. And it is a big thing nowadays because people are very precious with their time online. But profile visits means that someone has taken the next step to see what you're about. That means that they are moving through that process of becoming a warmer lead. And saves means that someone wants to come back and read that again later. So really it's profile visits and saves that I would be focusing on as metrics. So go ahead and look at that on your insights and look at what pieces of content did the best in your last month or two. Make a note of it. Keep it in a separate folder or whatever you use. Keep the posts, the links to them, the topics. And then when you are in your low energy, you can put this as a low energy task, is repurpose that content. Realistically, your content, it is incredibly hard to constantly come up with brand new content every single day. And if you're trying to do that and you feel burnt out, I'm really not surprised because it's difficult. One thing about marketing and content marketing is that your marketing to you should feel repetitive. It shouldn't feel boring. If it feels boring, you can repurpose and spice it up. You can say it in a different way. You can story tell. There's so many ways to do it, but it should feel repetitive. And if it does feel repetitive, you're doing it right because you're getting your message across. And it takes, honestly, a lot of touch points for someone to read your content and for the information to really go in. Sometimes it will take saying the same thing in 5 different ways over the course of 3 months for that one thing to click. It's really interesting when you look at the kind of statistics on how many touch points it actually takes people to absorb the information you're saying. But yeah, don't try and reinvent the wheel constantly. Your best ideas can be reused and they should be reused. So that is what I would do. When you're high energy, do a review. And something you can do when you're low energy is look at that review and then repurpose that content. If you have a week or 2 weeks or even a month at this point, when you've, created enough content and you think, oh my God, something really wrong has just happened in my home life or my family or whatever it is, and I don't want to show up on camera and talk. I don't have the capacity to create new content this week. I've got client work to do. I've got all of this stuff. Then you can look at the work you reviewed and then you can repurpose that content into fresh content for your social media. Now, so that's one, we'll park that there. And then another side of repurposing, when you create your long form content, so that's a podcast episode, this one's really good for when you feel like you're running out of ideas. When you're in that, I feel like ADHDers have this kind of flip-flop thing of 1 minute you are the most focused, like mad idea kind of person, and you have all this inspiration, you have all this energy, and you have all this like capacity in your brain to just fucking consume, and then the next minute you're like, there's nothing in there. Like, there's nothing in there even if I freaking tried. So it's so important, and this is why I talk about energy first marketing and using your energy cycles as a tool. It's so important, because when you're in your high energy, you can do all of this stuff. You can make notes of all of this. You can, you can create, you can just be inspired. And then when you're in the low energy, you can almost feed off of that reserve. You know what I mean? So those ideas are in like an overflow pool. And when you're in your low energy, you can just tap into that reserve, and you can just take whatever you need, So when you go to create a long form piece of content, so that might be a podcast, might be a blog post, might be a YouTube video, and you do that. Let's say you do one podcast episode a week, and you've done that, and then you think, okay, well, actually, I can get a few pieces of content ideas out of this. Listen to your podcast episode back, make notes of what you can use as your content for that week or that month or whatever you do, whether you do it day by day or you batch create, you work it out, and you can easily get 5-10 content pieces out of one podcast episode. So you're not constantly having to think of new ideas and reinvent the wheel and do new things. You can just get it from what you've already said. And again, you might be thinking, I know one thing I thought when I don't even know how I did it before I discovered repurposing, but I thought, oh, well, no, I need to create one thing for TikTok, and then one thing for Instagram, then one thing for YouTube, and a separate thing for podcast, because all these people, every single person is going to check out and have the capacity and have the time and just have the behavior type to sit through every single piece of content every single day, and they'll just know I'm repeating everything. That's really not how it works. People aren't realistically going to see every post you do. They're not going to be shown it by the algorithm. They're not going to see it. And they're also not going to sit through every single piece of content you put out there. And also with the touch point thing, it takes like 5 to 7 touch points on average for the information to go in. So actually, you repeating the same thing is a pro rather than a con. And again, you can put it in a different way, and that's fine, whatever you want to do, but using the same idea. Again, when you do this more and more, use what's already working, scroll through your past posts, look at what performed well, look at how you can rework or update it. Even taking something from like 3-6 months ago, reintroduce it with a fresh angle. You don't always have to be coming up with new content. So I would really recommend going and trying those things out, again, with the high energy, low energy lists, and then using that reserve, and then go ahead and try out the multiple pieces of content from one podcast episode or blog post or whatever it is. So that's something that you can go away and implement. And then I also would encourage, if you are feeling really paralyzed, here's another thing you can try. If you're really not in creation mode, sometimes we have those days. It's okay. No shame. What you can do is engage instead of create. If you can't post, if you feel like posting is just not a thing that you can do that day, see if you can engage. See what DMs maybe you've forgotten to reply to. Again, normal thing. Comment on posts, reply to comments, staying present in ways that feel a little bit less, overwhelming at that point for you. And overall, just giving yourself permission to do less. If you feel overwhelmed by content creation, I just literally want you to just take a breath out right now. Like, just take a breath, and you can let it go. You can let that really restrictive responsibility go that you have to constantly create new content every single day. You can work with things that have been done before. You can repurpose, give yourself a little bit of a break, because content creation probably shouldn't be the thing that's taking up the most of your mind in terms of your marketing, and definitely not in terms of your entire business. And if it is, we got to change something. It was for me at one point. When I first started being online, I was doing nothing other than posting on Instagram every day. Given at that time, yes, I didn't have any clients coming in. It was a new business in that sense. I didn't have any online clients coming in, and all I had to do all day was that. But it got really, really toxic, and it set a precedent for the rest of my business going forward. And I had to really break that habit. So yeah, if it is taking up the most of your brain, we got to take a step back. And again, if you need any help, my free tool is available, whether that's like it's called the Neuro-friendly content kit. It's not just for short form content. Yes, it works really well for short form content, but really what it does is break down the problems, the struggles, the desires, the very real things that your ideal client is going through. Looks at how incorporating your brand, your methodology, your niche into that so that you're speaking directly to them, and making sure you're getting visible in the right ways. But it's a platform for you to just put your creativity in and work with it and craft really, really great posts from what you really want to say from the heart. But it also works for things like podcast episodes, YouTube, that sort of thing. So it's completely diverse, and there's a little bit in there for Instagram stories as well, which is cool. So please go and check it out if you are like, yes, I want to put all this into practice, but I really don't know where to start. That will give you a stepping stone in. It's free. Literally just go and grab it because it's a great tool. And again, really great for repurposing. You can just keep using the same things over and over again. It's got checklists and drop downs, and it's very, very neuro-friendly. So please go and check that out. And as I say, go and implement those things. And I really, really hope you enjoy it. And please let me know how you get on. Always DM me on Instagram at Neuropreneur Rising. And I would love to hear about your experiences with it and how it's worked for you and whether it's helping you. It always makes my day to hear what you guys are feeling. So go and grab the free content kit in my show notes in the description. And you can also see my 2 and 4 week mentorship intensives. And you'll also see a link for long-term mentorship as well. So I will see you next time, and stay spicy.